Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Saigal.
And I'm Him Kaur Saroya, and on the show today, Israel's cabinet will meet today to vote on the ceasefire and the hostage release deal. And US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that he is confident that the deal will be implemented as planned. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has reported hitting 50 targets across the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. Question remains, of course, how will things pan out, if this deal will be implemented or not? That's something we'll explore on the show today.
Also on World DNA today, Pakistan has said that a boat carrying 80 migrants attempting to reach Spain capsized near Morocco, with over 40 Pakistanis reportedly among the dead. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has sought a report on the incident and said that strict action will be taken against those involved in human trafficking. We'll get you the latest on that as well. Lots more lined up, but first a quick check on the headlines.
Israel's cabinet to meet today to vote on the ceasefire and hostage release deal. Claims delay due to last-minute crisis created by Hamas. Reports suggest Israel's approval on the deal likely on Saturday.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Israel and Hamas have to take their own decisions and chances on Gaza Truce deal. Asserts ceasefire should begin as planned on Sunday.
China says it will send Vice President Hang Zheng to attend Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony. This comes after Trump extended an invitation to Chinese President Xi Jinping in December.
Impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol again refuses to appear for questioning over his failed martial law bid. This even as authorities face a deadline today to obtain a warrant to extend his detention or release the embattled leader.
In a tragic incident, a boat carrying 80 migrants attempting to reach Spain capsizes near Morocco. Over 40 Pakistani migrants among the dead.
Mexican officials seized 2 tons of cocaine after they intercept 3 boats near the coast of Cabo San Lucas. 9 Mexicans arrested during the operation.
California authorities warn against price gouging amid the state's wildfires. Declares the state's Department of Justice has opened multiple investigations.
House that it has the best chance again.
3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Vehicles pitching downrange.
In an unprecedented setback, SpaceX loses its Starship rocket during its 7th test flight. This after the Elon Musk-led company made steady progress, advancing the vehicle's capabilities.
Get ready for that boom, please.
Down to 3 engines.
Amad Diallo once again rescues Manchester United from embarrassment. The Everton forward scores a late hat-trick to help the Red Devils beat basement dwellers Southampton in the English Premier League. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has convened a security cabinet meeting today to hold a vote on the Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal.
Well, according to media reports, the Prime Minister's office said that the full cabinet will later convene to approve the deal without specifying whether that vote will also be held on Friday or Saturday.
On Thursday, Prime Minister Netanyahu's office accused Hamas of backtracking on parts of the agreement to extort last-minute concessions and vowed to postpone the cabinet vote until the issues were addressed. But later it was confirmed that the cabinet will meet on Friday to decide on this deal.
At least 2 cabinet members have voiced opposition to the ceasefire, with far-right National Security Minister Tamar Ben-Gvir saying that he and his party colleagues will quit the government if it approved the deal.
With an abandoned agreement approved and implemented, we will deliver our letters of resignation to the Prime Minister, and the Otzma Yehudet party will not be part of the government, and we are resigning from it.
In addition to Ben-Gvir, far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has also opposed the truce, calling it a dangerous deal.
Israelis supporting hard-right lawmakers blocked a highway in Jerusalem denouncing the ceasefire agreement. They marched on a road junction, some with hands painted red. Around 200 demonstrators attended a rally near the Israeli parliament and government ministries.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken voiced confidence that the implementation of a ceasefire in Gaza will begin on Sunday. Blinken said him and other officials of the Biden administration were on the telephone to try to resolve issues through mediator Qatar.
On the ceasefire, yes, I am confident, and I fully expect that implementation will begin, as we said, on Sunday. Look, it's not exactly surprising that in a process and a negotiation that has been this challenging and this fraught, you may get a loose end. We're tying up that loose end as we speak. I've been on the phone in one way or another all morning with Brett McGurk, with our Qatari friends, and I'm very confident that this is moving forward, and we'll see the start of implementation of the agreement on Sunday.
At a farewell news conference in Washington, D.C., Blinken's opening remarks were disrupted by 2 activists, with one of them shouting slogans. The outgoing Secretary of State defended Biden administration's policies on Israel's war with Hamas.
You too, Matt. You smirk through the whole thing every day.
The May 31st statement to block the ICJ orders. You blocked the ICJ orders.
Please, sir, respect the process. Thank you.
Oh, respect the process. Respect this process. While everybody from Amnesty International, to the ICJ saying that Israel's doing genocide and extermination, and you're telling me to respect the process. Criminal! Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague?
I think one of the lessons that we have to take away is that as resourceful and as powerful as we are, at the end of the day, we can't make decisions for others. They have to make them. They have to make hard choices. They have to take chances. We can do everything possible to push, to prod, to encourage, to support, but ultimately the decision lies with those most directly concerned. That's one thing.
Furthermore, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has said the hostage ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas must be finalized before his inauguration on Monday. In a podcast interview, he said, "We changed the course of it and we changed it fast, and frankly, it better be done before I take oath of office."
The truce announced by mediators Qatar and the United States on Wednesday involves the exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners, after which the terms of a permanent end to the war will be finalized.
Meanwhile, Gaza Civil Defense Agency said Israel pounded several areas of the territory after the deal was announced. killing at least 80 people and wounding hundreds. The Israeli military reported hitting about 50 targets across the territory over the past day.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressed concerns about Israel still continuing its attacks on Gaza. He said the Israeli government must not be allowed to violate and exploit the ceasefire.
On the other hand, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels threatened to keep up their attacks if Israel did not respect the recently announced ceasefire.
We are now being joined by George Kafiro from Washington, D.C. He is the CEO of Gulf State Analytics and professor at the Georgetown University. Welcome to World DNA, Mr. Kafiro.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Now, Israel will vote today on the ceasefire hostage deal after it was delayed yesterday. It's, however, not clear as to what extent is the holdup. While the U.S. authorities and the officials there, they seem to be optimistic about the ceasefire hostage deal. The question right now being is that, do you think the ceasefire deal will be implemented by Sunday, which is extremely paramount because Trump takes office on January 20th?
Yeah, as the Secretary of State, the outgoing Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, said, it's quite normal at the end of these types of negotiations for these sort of last-minute holdups that create these complications. But I think there's a good chance that everything is going to move ahead on schedule and that it will go into implementation on January 19th. I think President-elect Donald Trump has made it very clear to the Israeli leadership that he wants this deal implemented by the time he is sworn in for his second term. And I think that pressure from President-elect Trump is the main reason why I think that despite this last-minute complication, it's going to go through as planned.
Absolutely, Mr. Kafiro. In fact, we were yesterday talking to Dr. Avner Cohen, and we, in fact, discussed the similar point with him. And he said that the reason, perhaps, that there are some issues that may remain unresolved is because there is pressure to do it before Trump takes office. That being said, do you think that's the reason the negotiations and this deal has hit a snag in this last stage before being implemented?
Well, it's a good question. There's no denying that in the Israeli cabinet, there are ultra far right, sort of fascist right wing figures who have a huge problem with this deal and do not want to see it implemented. These are figures like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir who want to see the war continue until Hamas is decapitated. They want to see Israeli settlements, Zionist settlements built on the ground in Gaza. They do not want the Israeli ground presence to withdraw. So they have their leverage. As we know, obviously, Israel is not a dictatorship with Netanyahu able to make all the decisions. There are these other figures in the government who do have their leverage, and I think they're trying to use it right now to prevent this deal from going forward. But Netanyahu, I think, is going to do what he can to cater to the interests of Donald Trump, who is going to be the new U.S. president for the next 4 years, starting on Monday. And I think when Netanyahu has to make a choice between keeping his coalition together, as much as he wants to do that, and pleasing the incoming U.S. president, I think he's going to elect for working well with Trump, rather than keeping his coalition together in a manner that could possibly upset Trump. I think Netanyahu understands that ironclad support from Donald Trump is not something that Netanyahu should take for granted. Trump is notoriously unpredictable, and Netanyahu understands that.
Right. Just want to take that point forward where you mentioned that there has been pressure from the Trump's administration side. Now, with Trump taking office on January 20th, how does that play into the dynamics of what has happened so far and what might happen in the future? Because there's also many questions being raised on the implementation of the ceasefire deal as well.
Yeah, as I just mentioned a moment ago, Trump is notoriously unpredictable, there's always a lot of ambiguity from Trump. So it's extremely difficult to predict how everything is going to move ahead. But we should be concerned, in my opinion, about the fact that this deal leaves a number of questions open. There are also a number of loopholes in the deal. And we also need to keep in mind that the Trump administration will be responsible ultimately for enforcing the deal. And that raises so many different questions. You know, if Israel is going to violate the ceasefire, what kind of consequences would the Trump administration make Israel face? We simply don't know that. And then add to the mix so many important questions about governance-related issues in Gaza after the dust settles. So there are many different scenarios that could unfold. Concern I have is that this will ultimately be more of a hostage / prisoner swap instead of an actual ceasefire. I think it's going to obviously be important for people in the U.S. and all over the world to continue to do what they can to put pressure on Israel. We'll have to see how things unfold, though.
Right, Mr. Kafiro. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA with your insights on this story.
Thank you. Good to be with you as always.
All right, and Russia has accused NATO of taking advantage of the suspected sabotage of undersea cables in recent months.
This is to increase the alliance's military presence in the Baltic Sea. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova has said that the West's real goal is to limit the export of Russian oil by any means.
Of course, the European Union was joined by NATO in its entirety right away. It took advantage of the situation to boost the alliance's military presence in the Baltic Sea. This all might look like another piece of absurd theatre if it did not have all the signs of a long and carefully thought out plan.
The statement came amid British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's visit to Kyiv. During the unannounced visit, Starmer signed a 100-year partnership agreement with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. This was part of a European show of support and promises to keep helping Ukraine.
After signing the partnership agreement, Starmer visited a drone exhibition and a Kyiv school. This was his first trip to Ukraine since he took office in July, though he said that it was his 7th meeting with Zelensky. Starmer promised that the UK would play its full part in guaranteeing Ukraine's post-war security.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I do and have indicated that we will play our full part because this isn't just about sovereignty in Ukraine, although of course it's about that. It's about what the impact is back in the United Kingdom and our values, our freedom, our democracy, because if Russia succeeds in this aggression, it will impact all of us for a very, very long time.
Zelensky also said that the two leaders discussed an idea floated by French President Emmanuel Macron for Western troops to monitor a future ceasefire, but he said that it's a bit too early to talk about the details.
Starmer's visit came just days before Donald Trump takes oath as U.S. president. Trump's push for a quick end to the war has triggered concern among Kyiv's allies. European powers are preparing for Trump's return to the office, concerned that a settlement could be imposed on terms favorable to Russia and not Ukraine.
As the war nears the 3-year mark, both Russia and Ukraine are pushing for battlefield gains before possible peace talks. And the UN has reiterated the humanitarian situation in Ukraine remains dire. Security Council officials reported that the total number of civilians killed and injured in 2024 was 30% higher than the year before. Roughly 36% of the population will require assistance this year, with $2.6 billion needed to address their needs.
In a tragic incident, a boat carrying 80 immigrants attempting to reach Spain capsized near Morocco.
Pakistan authorities say over 40 Pakistanis are among the dead, and this is the second major incident of Pakistani migrants being drowned in a month.
Well, according to the migrant rights group Walking Borders CEO Helena Molino, 44 of those presumed to have drowned are from Pakistan. Moroccan officials reportedly managed to rescue 36 people a day earlier from a boat that had left Mauritania on January 2nd with 86 migrants, including 66 Pakistanis.
The Pakistan Foreign Office has issued a statement saying its embassy in Morocco is in constant communication with local authorities to assist with rescue operations. Additionally, a team from the Pakistani embassy in Morocco has been sent to Dakhla to support Pakistani nationals and provide necessary assistance.
Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has expressed grief for those who lost their lives in the incident. He has condemned the act of human trafficking. The Prime Minister also sought a report on the incident from authorities, assuring that strict action will be taken against those involved.
The incident comes a month after more than 80 Pakistanis drowned after boats carrying them capsized near Greece on the intervening night of December 13th and the 14th last year. Although as many as 36 Pakistani citizens were rescued, the rest remained missing, which, as per a report from the Pakistani embassy, should be presumed dead. The boats, which departed from Libya's Tobruk port, also carried Bangladeshi, Egyptian and Sudanese nationals. And a stabbing incident took place in Slovakia. According to emergency services and police, at least 2 people were killed at a school in northern Slovakia.
And that's after a student attacked a teacher and 2 classmates with a knife. The Slovak police said that they detained an 18-year-old student shortly after the attack, suspected of having committed this serious crime. The attack took place in a town close to Slovakia's border with Poland. According to reports, several emergency medical crew were at the scene, but the number of injured was not yet known. Slovak Interior Minister condemned the attack and also said that he will be visiting the crime scene.
According to the information we have, there are 2 victims and 1 injured student who is currently in Poprad Hospital. As far as I know, her condition is serious, but I will dare say it's stable too.
Serious violence is rare in Slovakia, a Central European nation of 5.4 million. The country was shocked last May when Prime Minister Robert Fico was shot in an assassination attempt. And several Nigerian military personnel are missing after a Boko Haram ambush in Baga near Lake Chad.
Troops were attacked while trying to recover the bodies of 40 civilians killed in a previous raid. A military source said a combined team of soldiers and civilians, including local hunters and vigilantes, was ambushed by the insurgents. There was an exchange of fire, resulting in several soldiers being killed. But the total casualties remain unclear as the bodies are yet to be collected and some soldiers are still returning to the base.
Civilian sources in Baga revealed that a group of 50 villagers went to recover the bodies of other civilians but were also ambushed. Only 1 person has returned so far and the casualties among the civilians are still unknown. This attack follows a deadly incident in Gaza town where 6 people were killed, including 5 repentant insurgents and local defenders. Authorities are still assessing the full extent of the damage and casualties.
And here's a look at the climate stories from around the world making headlines today.
And with that, we slip into a short break. Do stay tuned though. Lots lined up for you on the other side of the show.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
This week on the West Asia Post. As Palestinians and Israelis wait for the arrival of their loved ones, U.S. top diplomat criticizes Israel's policies on Palestine. Yemen's Houthis are gaining an edge over Israel. Meanwhile, Iran unveils its intelligence ship and missiles, warns U.S. President-elect Donald Trump against starting a war. We also talk about Lebanon's new prime minister and the country's political future.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is one.
The biggest gathering of humanity on the planet.
This is quite an interesting spot.
WION brings you exclusive coverage from the ground of the Mahakumbh Mela.
These bikes will be patrolling all around.
From security to infrastructure. From tent city to Sangam. We've got you covered. This is Triveni Sangam, where Ganga, Yamuna and the mythical Saraswati rivers meet. Experience faith. Experience culture.
Tent as well.
Experience Mahakumbh. Only on WION. World is one.
Amid escalating violence in the eastern regions of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Congolese army announces significant military gains against the M23 rebel group, with Rwanda's Paul Kagame calling for dialogue. Benin celebrates Vodun Days, a festival centered around the arts, culture and spirituality of the voodoo cult, where women are the mainstay of the festivities. And Senegal aims to promote their culture using toys like traditional wrestler figurines or dolls that come in a wide range of skin tones, including albino. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION. World is one.
Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching World DNA with me, Raisha and Haim. Lots lined up for you on the show, but first a quick check on the headlines.
Israel's cabinet to meet today to vote on the ceasefire and hostage release deal claims delay due to last-minute crisis created by Hamas. Reports suggest Israel's approval on the deal likely on Saturday.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Israel and Hamas have to take their own decisions and chances on Gaza Truce deal. Asserts ceasefire should begin as planned on Sunday.
China says it will send Vice President Han Zheng to attend Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony. This comes after Trump extended an invitation to Chinese President Xi Jinping in December.
Impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol again refuses to appear for questioning over his failed martial law bid. This even as authorities face a deadline today to obtain a warrant to extend his detention or release the embattled leader.
In a tragic incident, a boat carrying 80 migrants attempting to reach Spain capsized near Morocco. Over 40 Pakistani migrants were among the dead.
Bangladesh Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus says all political parties and stakeholders have agreed to make the proclamation of the July Revolution. The draft aims to amend or, if required, abolish the 1972 Constitution.
California authorities warn against price gouging amid the state's wildfires, declare the state's Department of Justice has opened multiple investigations.
House.
3, 2, 1.
In an unprecedented setback, SpaceX loses its Starship rocket during its 7th test flight. This after the Elon Musk-led company made steady progress, advancing the vehicle's capabilities.
Engines. Amad Diallo once again rescues Manchester United from embarrassment. The Ivorian forward scores a late hat-trick to help the Red Devils beat basement dweller Southampton in the English Premier League.
Under heavy guard, Mozambique's new president, Daniel Chapo, took oath of office on Wednesday with promises to unite the country.
But even as he was making the pledge, demonstrations against him turned deadly in the capital Maputo and the city of Nampula, killing 7 people.
48-year-old Chapo's presidential inauguration extends his Frelimo party's 50-year rule in Mozambique after a bitterly contested election in October. Opposition contestant Venancio Mondlane that he won the vote. His supporters have held demonstrations for months, often defying violent police response.
On the eve of the inauguration, Mondlane threatened to paralyze the new government with daily demonstrations. Chapo responded saying a political dialogue is underway and Mondlane is included in it.
50-year-old Mondlane is popular with the youth. He says Frelimo party rigged the election that international observers say was marred by irregularities. The political unrest that followed the election has claimed over 300 lives. Authorities say that these deaths include even police officers, but despite the streets and the military planes circling Maputo and its suburbs, Chapo is finding diplomatic support right now.
Neighbouring South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa attended his inauguration, as did Portugal's Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel. But for now, the shape of the unrest will depend on how Chapo tackles the trust deficit in his country.
According to official results, Chapo won 65% of the presidential vote compared to 24% for Mondlane. Mondlane, however, claims he won 53%. Frelimo parliamentarians also dominate the 250-seat National Assembly with 171 seats compared to the opposition Podemos party's 43.
And days after being sworn in as Venezuela's president for a third term, Nicolas Maduro addressed the nation on Wednesday.
The incumbent leader spoke at the Teresa Carreño Theatre in Caracas with thousands of supporters in attendance. Maduro slammed the opposition and so-called foreign mercenaries who he has accused of undermining his government.
I think January 10th, the day he took oath of office, was the day of the definitive consolidation of the popular, political and military fusion, overcoming all threats, all psychological war, all the lies. Those who want to live in lies, it's their problem, of the alleged message, of the alleged signal that they hope to receive.
Allá ellos que quieran vivir en la mentira del supuesto mensaje, de la supuesta seña que van a recibir.
The turmoil surrounding Venezuela's election results has now begun to de-escalate, with Venezuelans accepting the result which opposition and their supporters had contested for months after the July election.
I want to invest one more hope in Venezuela because it is my country and it hurts to leave. But I will invest at least 3 more months to see what comes out of that.
Algo más para ver qué sale de ahí. Si no, bueno.
We have to carry on. What else are we going to do? Remain in this situation with them? What else can you do? He has had his sash on since he first became president and he remains wearing that sash. He takes it off and on himself.
Interestingly, on the same day as Maduro's speech, opposition presidential contestant Edmundo Gonzalez addressed Venezuelans living in Guatemala. He said the opposition is waiting for the right time to assume presidency in Venezuela.
We had all the intention of assuming the presidency on January 10th, but due to different reasons that are not worth mentioning, we are waiting for when the opportunity is right, so we can make the vote of 8 million Venezuelans who voted for us on the July 28th elections count.
In other news, India will build a third rocket launch pad at ISRO's spaceport, the Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota in the state of Andhra Pradesh.
Now, the Indian Union Cabinet approved the 4-year project at a cost of 3,985 crore rupees or nearly $460 million. Currently, the Sriharikota spaceport has 2 launch pads. The first is meant for smaller rockets like the PSLV, the SSLV and the GSLV Mk2. The second can launch all rockets from the smallest SSLV to the largest LVM3. But both launch pads are many decades old, while the first has been utilized for over 30 years. Now, the second has been in service for over 20 years.
The third launch pad project is intended for next generation launch vehicles of ISRO. It will also serve as a standby for the second launch pad, besides strengthening launch capacity for future Indian human spaceflight missions. The third launch pad will also support the more capable semi-cryogenic engine variant of the LVM3 rocket and the scaled-up version of India's proposed NGLV rocket.
While the project is expected to fully utilize ISRO's vast experience in building and using earlier launch pads, the Indian space industry will also be involved in a big way. A third launch pad also expands the Indian space ecosystem. It will enable more frequent launches related to human spaceflight and space exploration missions to the proposed Indian space station and man-moon missions. And US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, spoke exclusively with WION.
He spoke on a number of topics, from extraditing Thakur Rana for the Mumbai attacks to promoting democracy in Bangladesh. He reaffirmed that justice will prevail while both countries advocate for religious tolerance and peaceful South Asian democracies. Here is an excerpt. Take a look.
Terrorism is another area where both countries work together. One aspect is the extradition of Thakur Rana, who was one of the key architects of the terror attacks in Mumbai. What's the update on his extradition?
I was just in Mumbai at the site of the Taj Hotel where that tragedy occurred, and I promised then, as I promise now, we will see justice served. And this is another beautiful example of how we work together. This investigation from the FBI, this prosecution from our Department of Justice, and there's one last appeal, but the Supreme Court has never overturned an extradition order in the history of the United States. We don't expect to do it now. So as soon as we get the paperwork from India assuring that transfer, it will happen.
How much perhaps Bangladesh was an issue for India-US relationship? We saw Hasina leaving. That was seen as a setback for India. There's a rise of Jamaat as well, increased Chinese engagement. What's your sense like?
I think we both share the principles that we want to see a peaceful, democratic South Asia. And we share those principles. We're coordinating on that together. We've spoken out clearly that whether it's Bangladesh or any country, religious minorities should not be persecuted. And I think we have an opportunity. Both of us want to see democracy and democratic elections established in Bangladesh as soon as possible. And that can help Bangladesh open its next chapter. It's not about the past. It's about what we can do together. And India and the United States have never acted together around the world more closely than today.
On the world of business now, China has failed to break a deflationary cycle and is now on course for the longest sequence of economy-wide price drops since the 1960s.
According to economists, this exposes a crucial weakness likely concealed by GDP recovery at last year's end. Official data is expected to reveal that deflation continued for the second consecutive year in 2024 as predicted by the majority of experts.
Well, according to major Wall Street banks like Citigroup and JP Morgan Chase, it will continue through this year. That will mark a stretch not seen since the Great Leap Forward era of Mao Zedong in 1960s, when China experienced a recession and a famine that killed millions of people. According to a Bloomberg poll of economists, the GDP deflator will hit minus 0.2% in 2025.
However, the economy is still predicted to have risen at a quicker speed in real terms in December quarter. To give a little context here, the average in the 10-year preceding the pandemic was 3.4%. If Chinese exports are forced to seek internal consumers due to impending trade war with the US, the situation might become much more dire for the country. The data on Friday will provide a view of the struggling property market and retail sector that comes just days before Donald Trump's return to the White House. He has threatened trade tariffs as high as 60% on imports from China that has the potential to destroy commerce with the world's second largest economy. Now, the Hong Kong government is once again considering tax increases on the city's wealthiest residents to address budget deficits.
And this is according to a Bloomberg report quoting sources. Now, during recent public consultations, authorities in Hong Kong discussed the possibility of increasing the current 16% tax rate on incomes over 5 million Hong Kong dollars or 642,000 US dollars, reducing the threshold so more individuals might qualify for the highest tax band, which was another potential solution discussed. However, it was unclear if any specific plans had been finalized or whether the administration will follow through on the initial consultations.
A spokesperson from the Financial Secretary's office said during the budget consultation process, we received diverse proposals from different sectors and members of the public. The spokesperson added, we do not comment on individual proposals or speculations.
If carried out, this measure would be the second consecutive year of increases in tax rates. Last year's move was a surprise hike to the highest rate not seen in 20 years. After the harsh COVID-19 pandemic and political turmoil, the Asian financial center's economy is struggling to grow. The country is now attempting to recover from a talent drain while facing severe deficits. Google is testing a new AI-powered feature called Permissions AI on its Chrome browser. The new feature aimed at reducing intrusive pop-ups during browsing. This is how it works. Well, according to a report by TechRadar, the tool uses Google's permission prediction service and the Gemini Nano 2 AI model to assess if users are likely to approve pop-ups requesting access to locations or notifications. If unlikely, the requests are displayed less intrusively or stored for later. Currently available on Chrome, an experimental version of the browser Permissions AI is expected to roll out publicly in the coming few months.
A German startup named Tomorrow.bio is offering cryonic services, freezing people after death with the hope of reviving them in the future. Cryonic services involve freezing deceased people and pets in liquid nitrogen in the hope of restoring them in the future. The cost, $200,000. The company cryopreserves patients by replacing bodily fluids with cryoprotective agents and cooling them to minus 196 degrees Celsius. The process begins immediately after a patient is legally declared dead, with the body transported to a retrofitted ambulance for the procedure. While skeptics call the idea preposterous, the company believes the ability to preserve patients indefinitely opens the door to possibilities, even if they remain centuries away.
India's internet user base is expected to surpass 900 million in 2025. According to a report published by the Amai Kantar Internet, the country recorded 886 million active internet users in 2024, marking an 8% year-on-year growth. Now, Amai Kantar is a collaboration between the Internet and Mobile Association of India, and it is a market research firm in rural areas which has led the surge with 488 million users, accounting for 55% of the total internet population. Nearly all users consume content in Indic languages, with Tamil, Telugu and Malayalam emerging as the most popular. The digital gender gap is narrowing, with women now making up to 47% of internet users and 58% of shared device users in rural India, while urban regions show slower growth. Mobile devices remain the primary access point across demographics in rural and urban India.
Now, Amad Diallo once again single-handedly rescued Manchester United from embarrassment.
The Ivorian forward scored a late hat-trick to help the Red Devils defeat bottom dwellers Southampton in the English Premier League. United would have fancied their chances of getting back to winning ways against the Saints, who have been rock bottom in the league. Southampton had just one victory to their name but found themselves ahead in the 43rd minute when Manuel Ugarte scored an own goal from a corner. Old Trafford, which was once a fortress, was silenced as United appeared to be heading for a fourth consecutive home defeat for the first time since 1930. Amad Diallo has been United's best player by a mile this season, and once again, the 22-year-old dragged the Red Devils back into the match.
The forward fired home a rebound to level the scores 9 minutes from time. Diallo then turned the game on its head in the 90th minute when he ran on to Christian Eriksen's chip return pass and volleyed it home for a sublime goal. Diallo did not stop and went on to complete his maiden hat-trick for United in stoppage time, which was gift-wrapped by the Saints' poor defending. The forward, who signed a new 5.5-year contract last week, is turning out to be the man for the big occasion. He scored a late equaliser at Anfield against Liverpool 2 weeks ago. He got United over the line against Manchester City in December, and of course no United fan will forget his winner against Liverpool in the FA Cup last season.
I didn't say nothing. I will tell you tomorrow that he has to rest, eat good food to prepare that Sunday. We need them again. He did a great job. It's a great moment for a young kid to score an hat-trick for a club like this, but he needs to focus on the next match because this is already in the past, and prepare the next game.
January 17th is being celebrated as Cinema Lovers Day in India. Here's what it means for movie lovers across the country. Well, on Cinema Lovers Day, which is being celebrated today, most multiplexes and theatres across the country will sell movie tickets at a discounted price for ₹99.
The move, which is an attempt to increase the footfalls and revenue, is likely to benefit the films hitting the big screen today. Emergency is one of the films releasing in cinemas today, starring Kangana Ranaut in the role of former Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi. The film also stars Anupam Kher, Milan Soman and Mahima Chaudhary in key roles.
Another movie marking its theatrical release today is Azad. The movie marks the debut of Indian actor Ajay Devgan's nephew, Aman Devgan, and Raveena Tandon's daughter, Rasha Tadani. The movie is helmed by Abhishek Kapoor. But while these are the new releases, several other movies are running in Indian theatres at the moment. The extended cut of Pushpa 2 with 20 minutes of additional footage is likely to compete at the box office.
Both Ye Jawani Hai Diwani and Kahona Pyar Hai, which were re-released recently, might also benefit from the reduced ticket price. A special meet and greet fan event was organized for the upcoming film Dark Nuns in South Korea.
And the lead actors, they spoke about the behind-the-scenes moments from the movie. We leave you with this report as we call it a wrap. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching WION World this one.
Amid escalating violence in the eastern regions of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Congolese army announces significant military gains against the M23 rebel group, with Rwanda's Paul Kagame calling for dialogue. Benin celebrates Vodun Days, a festival centered around the arts, culture and spirituality of the voodoo cult, where women are the mainstay of the festivities. And Senegal aims to promote their culture using toys like traditional wrestler figurines or dolls that come in a wide range of skin tones, including albino. That's this week on World of Africa. At these times on WION, World is One.
As California wildfires continue to wreak havoc, we tell you all about its impact on Hollywood. Know why the Monkey King is gaining prominence on social media. And check out our list of movies that every cat lover will love. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION eClub.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.